The pattern beneath the form. Part 1. I did not begin by searching for definitions. Those foundations had been laid years ago. The movement began elsewhere. A word returned to me. Matrix. Before modern fiction clothed it in machinery, illusion, and artificial worlds, the word named the womb. That older meaning matters because language often preserves a structure after the mind has forgotten the structure it preserves. The matrix is not merely a container. It is the place of formation, the concealed field in which something develops before it appears. The womb is an organ. Bone is also an organ. This is not surprising to me as biology. The interest lies in the correspondence. Two radically different structures participate in the same order. One encloses and nourishes becoming. The other establishes and preserves form. Their appearance differs. Their function differs. Yet both are organs. Therefore, the word organ opens beyond its ordinary use. An organ is composed of different tissues working together according to one function. The organ contains tissue. Tissue contains cells. The cell contains organelles, little organs. The name itself repeats the pattern. Within the organ, another order of organs. Within the body, organs. Within the organ, tissues. Within tissue, cells. Within cells, organelles. Within organelles, molecules. Within molecules, atoms. Within atoms, smaller particles. Each descent presents itself as an explanation of the level above it. The greater is said to be made from the lesser. The lesser is then made from something smaller. The mind is continually directed downward. Reduce. Divide. Descend. Find the final substance. Find the smallest thing. Find the foundation beneath the foundation. But reduction alone does not explain the whole. To name the pieces of a thing is not to reveal the principle by which the pieces become one thing. The organ is composed of cells, yet the cells do not explain the organ merely by existing. Something arranges them. Something unites them in function. Something permits many living units to participate in a greater living order without ceasing to possess their own order. The more important question is therefore not, what is the organ made from? It is, what pattern allows the organ to arise through what composes it? Perhaps the organ does not merely contain cells. Perhaps the principle of the organ is already present within the cell according to another degree. Not as a smaller copy, not as an identical structure, as correspondence. The same law appearing under another condition. The pattern survives the change of scale. Once this is seen, the inquiry changes direction. The object is no longer the deepest concern. The pattern becomes the concern. What remains when the form changes? What continues when the scale changes? What reveals itself through the part without being exhausted by the part? The skull presents the same mystery. The living face is already concealed within its structure. The ridge of the brow. The chambers of the eyes, the opening of the nose, the shape of the jaw. The face does not descend upon the skull from elsewhere. It emerges through it. Bone establishes the form. Muscle gives the form movement. Skin gives the movement appearance. Expression gives the appearance presence. Beauty appears through the whole. The skull is not beautiful in the same way the living face is beautiful. Yet the living face could not appear without the skull. Bone is not beauty. Muscle is not beauty. Skin is not beauty. Expression alone is not beauty. Beauty appears through their relation. The structure becomes capable of being recognized as beautiful only when the living presence moves through it. This raises the greater question. How does consciousness recognize beauty? Not merely respond to attraction. Recognize it. The animal may be drawn toward form. The human being becomes conscious of the drawing. He remembers beauty after it is gone. He compares one beauty with another. He imagines beauty before it exists. He recreates it. He judges it. He mourns its passing. He transforms attraction into image, art, devotion, longing, and thought. Beauty becomes more than instinct. It becomes an object within consciousness. The experience extends beyond the immediate moment. That extension matters. The same relation appears in the head and body. The head contains the body in concentration. The body contains the head in distribution. What is gathered in the head is extended through the whole body. Sight is gathered in the eyes, yet the body responds to what is seen. Sound is gathered in the ears, yet the body trembles, relaxes, turns, and remembers. Thought is gathered in the head, yet thought changes the breath, the blood, the muscles, the organs, the skin, and the posture. The head summarizes. The body unfolds. The order remains. The arrangement changes. This is where tissue becomes symbolically important, not merely as biological material. Tissue is the connective presence between structures. Bone establishes. Tissue joins. Muscle moves. Blood circulates. Skin defines the visible boundary. None of these alone is the living person. The person appears through their relation. The whole is not hidden inside one isolated layer. It is expressed through the correspondence between layers. The same principle returns through language. Genesis says, "In the image of God created he him." The modern impulse is to rearrange the sentence immediately, to translate it into a more familiar order, to assume the structure is accidental and preserve only the apparent information. But the order of the words is itself part of the movement. Why he? Why him? Why does the sentence turn in that exact sequence? Language does not merely carry meaning. Language gives meaning structure. Alter the words and the relation changes. Alter the order and the movement changes. Replace enough of the sentence and the new sentence may resemble the old meaning while no longer carrying the same architecture. The question is not merely what the verse means. The question is why it was written in that form. The same principle governs every word that entered the inquiry. Cell, organ, tissue, matrix. The ordinary definition is not the destination. It is the outer door. Behind the definition lies the structure the word contains. Everything returns to one question. What pattern repeats through every level of reality? Not, what is a cell? Not, what is an organ? But, what allows the cell, the organ, the body, the word, the face, the symbol, and consciousness itself to reveal corresponding forms of one order without becoming identical? That is the true beginning, not the acquisition of facts. The recognition of a pattern that had already been present, waiting to be followed further. Part 2. The habit of modern thought is reduction. Whatever stands before us is assumed to be explained by whatever can be found beneath it. The body is explained by organs. The organ by tissue. The tissue by cells. The cell by organelles. The organelle by molecules. The molecule by atoms. The atom by particles. Each discovery is treated as though it has finally reached the true foundation until another level appears beneath it and the certainty begins again. The pattern repeats so consistently that it is rarely questioned. Yet another possibility remains. Perhaps reality is not attempting to lead us toward an endlessly smaller object. Perhaps it is continually revealing one order through different degrees of manifestation. The mistake may not lie in discovering deeper levels. The mistake may lie in assuming the deeper level abolishes the reality of the higher one. The cell does not make the organ unreal. The organ does not make the body unreal. The atom does not make the cell unreal. Each level remains complete according to its own order. The greater is not merely an illusion constructed from lesser parts, nor is the lesser meaningless apart from the greater. Each participates in the same structure while expressing that structure differently. This becomes easier to recognize through beauty. The skull by itself does not possess the beauty of the living face. Yet remove the skull and the living face disappears. Structure alone is insufficient. Appearance alone is insufficient. Neither explains beauty. Beauty appears when structure, movement, proportion, animation, and consciousness enter into relation. The experience cannot be located entirely within the object. Neither can it be located entirely within the observer. Beauty arises between. It is relational. The object offers. Consciousness receives. The relation itself becomes part of the experience. Animals appear drawn by instinct. Human beings become conscious of attraction itself. They remember beauty. They compare it. They anticipate it. They preserve it. They recreate it through painting, sculpture, poetry, music, memory, and symbol. Beauty ceases to be merely biological. It becomes contemplative. Consciousness extends the moment beyond the moment. That extension reveals something fundamental. Perception follows the same law. Everything I know is experienced from where I stand. I never directly enter another consciousness. I encounter another through speech, movement, expression, action, silence, and relation. I infer another center of experience because consciousness recognizes the pattern of consciousness appearing beyond itself. Every act of observation, therefore, includes the observer. This does not make reality imaginary. It means perception is always situated. There is no view from nowhere. Every act of seeing already belongs to someone who sees. The observer cannot step outside reality in order to examine reality from beyond it. That impossibility changes the entire character of philosophy. Another paradox follows naturally. Nothing can be determined absolutely. The instant the statement is spoken, it confronts itself. If it is absolute, it contradicts its own content. If it is conditional, the condition must also be understood. The paradox is not solved by abandoning thought. It is clarified by recognizing the limits of thought when thought attempts to establish itself as its own foundation. Understanding often precedes explanation. A dream illustrates this perfectly. Within the dream, everything may possess complete coherence. Events flow naturally. Impossible transformations require no justification. The dream understands itself while it is occurring. Only upon waking does language struggle to reconstruct what consciousness already experienced directly. Thought often unfolds in the same manner. The relation is understood before the sentence exists. Meaning arrives before expression. Language follows afterward, attempting to preserve what intuition already grasped. This explains why speech can hesitate while understanding remains clear. The difficulty is not always ignorance. Sometimes the difficulty is fidelity. How can language preserve the structure already present within thought without collapsing it into something simpler than it truly is? That is why original wording matters. Modern language frequently replaces older expressions with words assumed to be more accessible. The information may survive. The structure often does not. Every word occupies a position. Every position contributes to the architecture of the whole. Change enough words and eventually another building stands in the place of the first. The definitions themselves therefore matter less than the structures they preserve. This is why ordinary questions remain extraordinary. Not because the definitions are unknown, because the definitions become thresholds through which deeper relations begin revealing themselves. The inquiry is never satisfied by collecting facts. Facts establish orientation. The work begins only after orientation has been established. The question beneath every definition remains unchanged. What law continues expressing itself regardless of scale? What remains when appearance changes? What order survives every transformation of form? That pattern, rather than any isolated object, is the true subject of the inquiry. Part 3. The inquiry eventually returned to another word: meta. The modern use of the word has become almost entirely reflexive. Something is called meta because it refers to itself. That usage is not false. It is simply incomplete. What interested me was not self-reference, but self-disclosure. The way one order continually reveals itself through another order. Not a thing looking back at itself. A principle expressing itself through successive manifestations without being exhausted by any one of them. A pattern becomes visible. That pattern gives rise to another expression. The second expression reveals the first while simultaneously becoming the foundation for another. The movement continues, not as repetition, as unfolding. The same question returned through matrix. Originally it meant womb. That meaning cannot be dismissed as historical trivia. The womb is not merely a vessel. It participates in formation. It nourishes, protects, shapes, brings forth. The child develops within the womb. The organ develops within the organism. The tissue within the organ. The cell within the tissue. The organelle within the cell. Everything appears within something larger while simultaneously containing another order within itself. The pattern repeats with remarkable consistency. Yet another question immediately follows. Does this procession ever end? Does reality truly consist of one container placed inside another without limit? Or is containment itself another symbolic appearance of a deeper relation? Perhaps each level is complete according to its own order, not because it exists independently, Because the same law expresses itself differently at each degree. Science continually discovers another depth. That is not its failure. It is its strength. Every discovery reveals another horizon. But each horizon also reminds us that explanation is never finished. The question therefore changes. Are we uncovering smaller objects? Or are we continually encountering new expressions of one underlying order? That distinction matters. If the latter is true, then reality cannot be understood merely by dismantling it. Reduction alone cannot explain emergence. A sentence cannot be explained by listing its letters. A melody cannot be explained by isolating individual notes. A body cannot be explained by separating every organ. The relation gives rise to something the isolated parts never possess alone. This is why language became increasingly important. Not because words possess magical power, because every word directs thought. A slight alteration may seem insignificant, yet every alteration shifts the relation between ideas. Eventually, the structure itself changes. Definitions therefore matter, not because memorizing them produces wisdom, because definitions establish orientation. If the beginning is distorted, everything constructed afterward inherits the distortion. That is why I continued asking what an organ is, what matrix is, what meta is. Not because the dictionary interested me, because the dictionary often preserves the doorway through which a forgotten structure first entered thought. Once the doorway is seen, the inquiry can continue beyond the definition itself. Many disagreements arise in precisely the opposite way. People believe they are arguing about reality. Often they are arguing from different definitions without recognizing that the foundation itself has shifted. The same word, different structures, different assumptions, different conclusions. The disagreement appears profound. Its root may simply be concealed. Clarify the foundation, and the visible disagreement frequently changes with it. The purpose is not to force agreement. The purpose is to see clearly what is actually being discussed. Language becomes more transparent. Thought becomes more precise. The pattern becomes easier to recognize. The inquiry, therefore, returns once again to its original center. Not, what object stands before me, but, what order continues expressing itself regardless of the form through which it appears? Part 4. Another question gradually emerged. Is reality presented exactly as it is? Or does every appearance already contain interpretation? The question is easily misunderstood. It is not an attempt to deny the existence of reality. It is an attempt to understand the conditions under which reality becomes experience. Everything I know appears from where I stand. I do not step into another consciousness. I encounter another through word, gesture, expression, silence, action, memory, and relation. The existence of another is not doubted. The manner in which another becomes known is the question. Every observation already contains the observer. The one who sees is never absent from the act of seeing. This does not diminish reality. It reveals something about perception. Perception is never detached from the instrument through which perception occurs. The body, therefore, returns again. Not because the body is merely physical, because the body is the complete instrument through which every experience becomes possible. The head does not merely occupy the highest position upon the body. It gathers into one place what the body distributes throughout itself. The senses are concentrated. The body extends their consequences. Thought arises. The heart responds. The lungs respond. The muscles respond. The organs respond. The skin responds. One movement unfolds through many structures. The same order appears under different conditions. Correspondence does not require sameness. It requires relation. That distinction becomes increasingly important. Skin changes. Fat changes. Muscle changes. Blood changes. Bone remains far longer. Yet none of these alone explains the living person. The body cannot be understood by isolating its components. Each layer depends upon the others. Each reveals something the others cannot reveal alone. The living person is not hidden inside one particular part. The living person appears through the relation between them. Life is relational. The same movement appears within moral experience. Good cannot be understood without some awareness of evil. Evil cannot be understood without some awareness of good. Each becomes intelligible through contrast, not because they are identical, because distinction itself depends upon relation. Light reveals darkness. Darkness reveals light. Neither abolishes the other merely by existing. The distinction remains while the relation becomes visible. Reason eventually reaches its own horizon. Every attempt to force reality into perfect logical closure leaves something living behind. Meaning frequently arrives before explanation. Intuition recognizes a relation that language has not yet learned to preserve. This does not elevate intuition above reason, nor does it diminish reason. Each serves a different movement. Reason distinguishes. Intuition recognizes. Reason separates. Intuition gathers. One clarifies structure. The other perceives the living relation before the structure has been completely articulated. This explains why understanding often precedes expression. There are moments in which the thought is perfectly clear while no sentence yet exists capable of carrying it. Language follows, sometimes faithfully, sometimes imperfectly. The struggle is therefore not simply to think. The struggle is to preserve the relation once it has entered language. That is why assumptions matter more than conclusions. Most arguments concern conclusions. The deeper work concerns the assumptions from which those conclusions naturally arise. Alter the assumption, and the conclusion frequently changes without resistance. This is why apparently simple questions continue returning. What is an organ? What is a matrix? What is a cell? What is meta? The question is never exhausted by the definition. The definition establishes orientation. The inquiry begins where the definition ends. By this stage, the search is no longer directed toward collecting information. Information has become material. The true work is recognizing the order expressing itself simultaneously through biology, language, perception, symbolism, consciousness, and experience. The same law continues appearing. The forms continue changing. The correspondence remains. Part 5. The inquiry eventually led somewhere unexpected. I realized I was not searching for teachers. I was searching for companions in thought. Not people who would explain reality to me. People willing to remain before the same mystery without forcing it into premature certainty. I imagined philosophers gathered upon a quiet shore beneath the night sky. Not debating. Not defending systems. Thinking together. One raises a question. Another extends it. A third perceives a correspondence unnoticed by the others. None possesses the whole. Each reveals another face of the same order. Reality becomes more visible through participation than through possession. Perhaps philosophy has never been the construction of final systems. Perhaps its deeper discipline is remaining with a genuine question long enough for the question itself to transform the one asking it. A true question rearranges consciousness. It loosens structures that have become fixed. It permits new relations to emerge. A weak answer often does the opposite. It closes the inquiry before the inquiry has revealed everything it contains. This is why I continue returning to seemingly ordinary words. Organ, cell, matrix, meta. Not because the words themselves are extraordinary, because each word serves as an entrance. Each definition is a threshold. Pass through one doorway and another immediately appears beyond it. What first seemed complete reveals itself as only the beginning of another chamber. The movement continues. One definition illuminates another. One correspondence clarifies another. Eventually, the inquiry itself becomes more important than any isolated conclusion. Conversation obeys the same law. Whenever two people genuinely think together, neither leaves unchanged. Thought is not transferred like an object from one mind to another. It unfolds between them. The conversation becomes something neither person possessed before it began. A living structure arises through relation. Not yours. Not mine. Shared. The movement itself becomes another kind of organism. Questions and answers therefore belong together. Separate them and each loses something essential. A question without its answer remains incomplete. An answer without its question loses the path by which it became necessary. Together, they reveal the movement of understanding. Perhaps this has always been the heart of philosophy. Not collecting opinions, not defending doctrines, not constructing monuments to certainty. Learning how reality gradually reveals another aspect of itself through sincere inquiry. Every genuine question opens another horizon. Every horizon reveals another relation. Every relation reveals another correspondence. The work, therefore, continues. Not because the earlier stages were mistaken, because every stage contains the possibility of another unfolding. The inquiry remains alive precisely because reality continues revealing itself through forms that differ while preserving the same underlying order. The pattern never ceases. Only the manner of its appearance changes. Part 6, Section 1. The symbol is not the destination. A realization eventually imposed itself with such force that it reorganized everything that had come before it. I cannot step outside reality in order to explain reality. The statement appears simple. Its consequences are not. I once heard someone describe the entire universe as an eyeball. For a moment, the symbol opened something. The image possessed genuine power. Then the movement stopped. The symbol itself became the conclusion. That is precisely where the inquiry must continue. Where did the image of the eyeball originate? The symbol did not descend from outside reality. The idea of an eye already belongs to the very reality it attempts to explain. Reality produced the symbol. The symbol was then elevated into an explanation of reality itself. The movement became circular without recognizing its own circle. This does not invalidate the symbol. It establishes its proper place. The symbol belongs to reality. It cannot stand outside the reality from which it emerged. Every authentic symbol functions this way. It points. It reveals. It suggests. It opens. But it does not replace what it reveals. The mistake begins when the doorway is mistaken for the destination. The first correspondence is accepted as the final correspondence. Thought comes to rest precisely where it ought to deepen. Every true symbol unfolds. One relation reveals another. One correspondence naturally opens into another correspondence. The eye directs attention toward seeing. Seeing directs attention toward perception. Perception directs attention toward consciousness. Consciousness directs attention toward the observer. The observer directs attention toward relation. Relation directs attention toward the order in which observer and observed arise together. The movement never ends with the first image. The image serves the inquiry. The inquiry must never become the servant of the image. This is why words continue occupying such an important place within my work. Not because words possess mystical authority. Not because language itself is sacred. Because words orient consciousness. Every definition quietly determines the direction thought will travel. Misunderstand the word, and the entire inquiry may begin from a distorted foundation. That is why ordinary definitions continue returning. Not because they remain unknown. Because they determine the direction from which everything else is approached. What is an organ? What is matrix? What is meta? These are not requests for elementary information. They are attempts to locate the doorway before entering the structure built beyond it. Definitions establish orientation. They are not conclusions. Every word points beyond itself. Every symbol points beyond itself. Every image points beyond itself. Whenever thought mistakes the pointing for the destination, the movement ceases prematurely. My work, therefore, does not begin with answers. It begins by refusing to confuse the first symbol with the reality toward which the symbol directs attention. The inquiry continues because every genuine correspondence reveals another correspondence concealed within it. Reality is never exhausted by its first appearance. Neither is the symbol. Part 6, Section 2. The body as the living field of correspondence. The inquiry inevitably returns to the body. Not because the body is merely physical. Because it is the only complete instrument through which every experience I have ever known becomes possible. Everything arrives through it. Thought, memory, pain, beauty, fear, love, desire, prayer, speech, silence. The body is not an object I happen to possess. It is the living field through which reality becomes experience. This is why symbolism continually returns to anatomy. Bone, tissue, flesh, blood, skin. Each reveals more than biological function. Each occupies a symbolic position within a greater order. Bone remains. Flesh changes. Skin ages. Blood circulates. Tissue joins what would otherwise remain separate. Each reveals something about permanence and change, structure and appearance, foundation and manifestation. Yet none alone is the living person. Remove the flesh and bone remains. Remove the blood and structure remains. Remove the breath and form remains. The structure survives. The person does not. 1,000 years after death, the skeleton may still endure. The proportions remain. The architecture remains. Perhaps even the face can be reconstructed. But the reconstruction never restores the living presence that once animated it. The skull is not the smile. The jaw is not the voice. The eye socket is not the gaze. The measurements are not the person. Something essential appeared through the whole without being reducible to any isolated part. That relation became increasingly important. The body cannot be understood by separating it into independent objects. Its meaning appears through correspondence. Bone establishes. Tissue joins. Muscle moves. Blood nourishes. Skin reveals. Spirit animates. None abolishes the others. None replaces the others. Each receives its significance through relation. This same movement eventually clarified what I meant whenever I spoke of divine masculinity and divine femininity. I was never speaking merely of biological male and female. The language was symbolic from the beginning. Masculinity and femininity describe functions before they describe persons. One establishes. One receives. One projects. One clothes. One forms. One manifests. Bone provides one image of enduring structure. Flesh provides another image of changing appearance. Neither possesses completeness by itself. Each exists through relation to the other. Then another distinction became unavoidable. The source must never be confused with what proceeds from the source. The sun is not its light. The spring is not the water flowing from it. The organ is not its function. The giver is not the gift. The one who speaks is not the spoken word. What proceeds reveals something about its source. It never exhausts the source itself. The distinction preserves the correspondence. Without distinction, every symbol collapses into literal identity. Without correspondence, every distinction becomes isolated. True symbolism preserves both. Difference remains. Relation remains. One illuminates the other. The body, therefore, remains indispensable to the inquiry. Not because it explains everything. Because within the body, every symbolic movement becomes directly lived. Every attraction, every grief, every fear, every act of perception, every movement of consciousness, every prayer, every hope, every sorrow, every joy, everything I know has arrived through this living instrument. The body is therefore not merely another object inside reality. It is the place where reality becomes experience. Part 6, Section 3. Correspondence without confusion. Correspondence must never be mistaken for identity. This distinction governs the entire inquiry. To say that two things occupy the same symbolic position is not to say they are the same thing. The correspondence reveals relation. It does not abolish difference. The sun is not the eye, yet both illuminate. The eye is not consciousness, yet consciousness sees through it. The word is not reality, yet reality becomes approachable through the word. The symbol is not truth, yet truth becomes visible through the symbol. Every correspondence depends upon both likeness and distinction. Remove the likeness and nothing is revealed. Remove the distinction and everything collapses into confusion. This is why symbolic thinking demands discipline. The symbol must never become literal, nor may it be dismissed as mere imagination. It must be followed, opened, examined, allowed to unfold according to its own movement. Every genuine correspondence generates another. The cell corresponds to the organ without becoming the organ. The organ corresponds to the body without becoming the body. The skull corresponds to the face without becoming the living person. The body corresponds to consciousness without exhausting consciousness. The same order continues expressing itself while every level preserves its own integrity. The movement, therefore, is not toward sameness. It is toward intelligibility. The deeper the correspondence becomes, the more clearly distinction reveals itself. Confusion begins whenever symbolic position is mistaken for material identity. The inquiry ends prematurely whenever one image is accepted as the final explanation. Every authentic symbol remains incomplete by itself. Its purpose is to direct attention beyond itself. The symbol opens another relation. That relation opens another pattern. That pattern reveals another correspondence. The unfolding continues. The work of symbolic thought is therefore neither to collect symbols nor to worship them. Its work is to follow them. Every image becomes another doorway. Every doorway reveals another chamber. Every chamber reveals another order concealed within the one before it. Reality does not become smaller. It becomes deeper. The inquiry does not end because another correspondence has been found. It continues because every genuine correspondence reveals that reality always exceeds the image through which it first appeared. Part 6, Section 4. The work continues. Everything eventually returns to the same place. Not because every idea is identical, because every idea eventually forces the question of its own origin. The symbol points. The word points. The image points. The body points. The mind points. None of them is the destination. Each is another mode through which reality becomes visible. This is why I cannot remain with appearances alone. Not because appearances are false. Because every appearance continues beyond itself. Every answer becomes another question. Not because the answer has failed. Because it has revealed another horizon. There are moments when understanding appears complete. Then another correspondence emerges. Another relation. Another pattern concealed within the one that came before it. The inquiry begins again. Not from ignorance. From greater depth. This is why the body continually returns. Not because the body explains reality. Because every experience of reality is gathered there. Every joy. Every sorrow. Every attraction. Every fear. Every hope. Every memory. Every prayer. Every thought. Everything I have ever known has entered consciousness through this living instrument. The body is therefore not merely something I possess. It is the place where experience becomes possible. Words reveal the same law. They are not reality. They orient consciousness toward reality. Mistake the word for what it indicates and the inquiry stops too soon. Mistake the symbol for what it reveals and the inquiry stops too soon. The work is therefore not to abandon symbols. The work is to see through them. Not beyond them in the sense of discarding them. Through them as transparent expressions of a deeper order. That is why simple questions continue returning. Not because they possess simple answers. Because they repeatedly open the deepest doors. The ordinary word becomes extraordinary when the pattern concealed within it begins revealing itself. I make no claim to finality. I do not claim to possess the last word. The inquiry remains alive because reality continually reveals another correspondence, another relation, another order. Whenever I believe I have reached the end, another horizon appears. The work, therefore, is not certainty. The work is fidelity to the inquiry. To continue seeing. To continue questioning. To continue recognizing. To continue allowing each symbol to unfold until it naturally opens the next. If these reflections offer anything to another mind, let it not be my conclusions alone. Let it be the willingness to remain before reality without rushing to imprison it inside the first explanation that appears. To keep looking. To keep asking. To keep recognizing. To follow every correspondence without confusing it for the whole. Reality is greater than every image. Greater than every word. Greater than every symbol. Yet each faithfully points toward it. Amen. Let it be so.